Recording?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, discussions. Somebody is asking recording, that is Bruno. Ivan will record our Zoom sessions for purposes that I can upload them on Moodle, and then you can go back and listen to them in case you missed any point. However, if it is not in your interest that I record, I can stop the recording because I need to get your permission in order to do that. So Ivan, do I have your permission to continue?
Yes, madam, you can proceed.
Okay, okay. In case anybody is not for it, I can stop the recording, because it's somebody may not be comfortable with it. But we do it specifically just so that we can link it in Moodle and you go back to it. Sorry? Yes, please.
You record because
Oh, it's okay. I'm assuming you're giving me the go ahead. Okay. Just let's begin discussion on the. Oh, my internet connection is not good. I'm using my phone. So over MTN, I thought MTN would be much better in Kampala, but apparently it's not. My apologies. Okay, let me go back to my question. My question to you all is, I'm assuming you've all listened to the second pre-recorded lecture on research types. Now, I wanted us to have a discussion before we go to the question which I had given you at the end of the video on research types. Can you tell me what your first thoughts are? What are your thoughts on the video? Did you understand that content that I discussed? Was there anything that was amiss? Did you get more confused? Because I know research can be quite daunting. So I'm asking, can we have a discussion? Can you tell me your thoughts on that second video? You can raise your hand and let me know, or you can just speak out, or you can type something on in the chat room. Yes, Stephen.
Madam, may you throw more light on the difference maybe and the similarity between this analytic research and what is something of that kind?
Okay, give me a second. Let me share my screen. Okay, there were several research types. We talked about basic research and applied research, descriptive and analytical. So, Stephen, would you like me to start with descriptive and analytical, or just analytical?
Analytical, and this I think it is on the last slide.
Okay, just give me a minute. There's descriptive, analytical, quantitative, qualitative, conceptual, empirical.
This one,
empirical.
Empirical
Research. Okay, so let's start with the topmost. We looked at basic research and applied research, descriptive and analytical. Yeah. So now, you remember we talked about research problems. Every research begins with a research problem. And basically your research problem kind of guides you on pretty much your research design, how you're going to approach your research, what you're going to find out, how you're going to present it. Pretty much everything is based on that. Nantanda, I see you have you've raised your hand. I don't know, as we are discussing, let me also be switching to another computer. Let me also start another computer because my battery is starting to warn. But basically, when we think of our research problems, once we begin to understand, once we've narrowed down on what our research problem is, we are then guided, or rather the research problem guides us on how we are to approach our research, how we are going to look for, or what exactly it is we're going to look for from our context, from our research study, and how we are then going to analyze that data and present it. Essentially, those are the key questions that research, that's how we are guided. What do I mean? If you look at, let's say, the very opposite of analytical research, we have descriptive research. Now, let's assume, remember we said the research problem is a problem within a certain community, and that has to be basically an academic, should I say, that would be an academic community. Now, it depending on the area that is unknown. Let us say, for example, all of you have heard about, let's say, let me give the most basic things that would trigger every single community. That is, let us say, female genital mutilation. That is basically female circumcision. I'm sure all of you have heard about it. Let us assume, I'm going to assume, I'm sure that a lot of research has been done on it because it is a topic that has baffled quite a number of people for quite a long time. But let us assume there are people, the academic world is baffled by female genital mutilation on how it is done, how and why it is done. And the researcher has gone out there and found out from literature is that maybe those in the field of gender studies don't understand why and how this particular act in society is done. And therefore a researcher says, then my research problem is to understand, basically is to understand the reasoning behind it. So therefore, that person goes into a community which actually does female genital mutilation or female circumcision. Let's call it female circumcision, because some people think the world of it. And these people say, let us go out there and try to understand it. Then they go out there, they begin to find out how it's done and why it's done. Then the person comes back and gives a report. These people come back and give a report. Essentially, when that researcher is giving that report, they will give what is referred to as a descriptive report or descriptive research on how and why it is done. This person is simply stating how things are done, a phenomenon that exists, and that phenomenon, particularly now, is female genital mutilation. That is descriptive research. And specifically, this researcher is doing that because he or she has found out, first of all, the question he or she found out from the academic world was that, oh, we don't understand why this thing happens. Same thing, let us now go to the world of IT. Maybe in the IT world, there may not be an understanding about why certain, let us say, why certain systems thrive in an organization and others don't. We have different types of systems. We have integrated systems. We have standalone systems. Basically, there are different kinds of systems. And then you as an IT person, maybe your job would be to find out why these systems work and these ones don't. Now, that is, there what you're doing is you're giving a state of affairs, what is pointed out here. The purpose of description of the state of affairs as it exists. So you're basically describing something that is yet unknown to a group of academics, why something sits as it is. You may wonder, maybe there may be other questions, maybe why are certain systems hacked more than others? Why is it certain institutions, certain organizations are hacked more than others? And then you go to find out the state of affairs, or maybe you find out, or maybe these institutions, their information is more lucrative, or maybe these types of institutions have not yet understood the value of cybersecurity, and so on and so forth. And there you're simply describing. Yeah. Now let us look at the very opposite, analytical. In analytical research, you're going beyond description of facts. You bring in your critical analysis, or rather, you bring in your opinion on something. You bring in your opinion over something. So take an example for the case of female genital mutilation or female circumcision. You may try to, you'll now give a critical analysis or a critical evaluation of why. When you find out the why, you'll go further. The respondents may tell you, oh, we do this for this purpose. Then you will even go further. You may choose to go further and find out why, basically giving even now your opinion as, of course, a professional. You're not giving your opinion as a lay person, but as a professional. So now, unlike the first example where it says you report students' attendance and power of cards, here you can evaluate students' performance from students' results, where you will say, okay, in the first example, we were reporting on students' performance. Now you're going to say, okay, let me find out, let me now relate this to the results. Does it affect the results? And if it does, if I see there is an effect, then I'll even go further and give my opinion that those who attend more may not necessarily perform as well. That is critical analysis. Now, let me also give an opinion on these types of research. Usually in IT, we may not find critical analysis. Usually we may not find it because in IT we're usually looking at facts. Usually that is our research type. We're looking at facts. Our research may be more descriptive than anything else. You may find analytical research maybe in those purely social science types of research, although IT research is also social science. That one is there, but it is important that we understand where we normally lie as ICT. Give me a second, I'm trying to log in here onto another laptop just in case mine completely runs out. Now, so analytical research, I remember there's somebody I remember who I observed doing research some years back in the Institute of Ethics and Development Studies. And her research, this particular student it was on a particular book. There was a book written by a lady, and specifically, I think it was on environment and the environment, basically. And this researcher her research was going to critically analyze the stand of this author on the environment and her approach to environmental degradation and preserving the environment. That one was basically going to be critical about what this author pushes forward. So you would do analytical research if you are saying that I want to I want to be critical about certain hypotheses, certain stands. That does this stand really mean this? Let us say let's say in the case of student results, where somebody might say those students who attend perform better. And then my research is going to critically analyze that hypothesis or theory. Does that really hold true? And then, but that means I go really in depth to find out those who are attending and those who are performing well. What are the factors that are that support that are surrounding somebody who is performing highly and that person who is not performing well? I might find there's a student who attends class regularly, but that student is not performing. And then in other cases, I find one who is attending regularly and is performing, and one who is not, and that person is not performing. Then I go further to find out issues around each student that may cause their underperformance. So there I am now being critical. I'm not just stating facts. I'm now being critical about predetermined beliefs. Stephen, I don't know if I've answered your question. Stephen, have I answered your question? Okay.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. I hope it has also been clear for Okay. I hope it has also been clear for everyone. There was also a question on quantitative and qualitative research. I hope we are okay with it. I hope so, but let's move now on to empirical research and conceptual research and empirical research. Now, let me, when we talk about conceptual research, again, this is also a research type that you will rarely find in IT. You will rarely find this but in some cases at PhD level, yes, it can be there, but you will rarely find it. Now, conceptual research basically involves developing a theory. It's normally, we may find purely conceptual research at a level where a research is not common. in certain areas where little is known, and we are just beginning to understand or to conceptualize. What do we mean? What do we mean by a concept? To conceptualize, we're basically looking at concepts. And when we are looking at concepts, we're basically saying the main ideas behind something. That is what we're saying. The main ideas behind something. Take an example. Everything, there is an idea behind it. Whatever we see that is established, there is an idea behind it. If we look at, let's say, learning, the teaching and learning the way we see it, we always, when we think about learning, we know that, yes, learning happens at an individual level, but also learning happens in a group. So when you see a physical classroom being, when you see the physical classroom, for example, wherever you may have been, maybe it at Rubaga, Masaka, main campus, or any of our other campuses, in Kabale, Mbale, Ngeta, wherever it is, you have the physical classroom where a group of people come and sit, and a facilitator or lecturer comes. The same idea is then translated into a classroom, a virtual classroom, where you have now something like this, where we have a Zoom class, where a group of you come as students, then a facilitator comes in. Why is that? Because there is an idea behind that people learn, yes, as individuals, and they also learn in groups. And education basically becomes about imparting certain values onto a group of people. Actually, even when you go to the definition, those who are in the education side, you will see that it's about imparting certain values and ideas onto a group of people. Now, you see that is a concept behind. And somebody came up with it. Some people came up with that theory, which has now been put into practice. So that would be conceptual research. Now, this one is usually seen to be highly theoretical. Just as you saw in the very first, in the pre-recorded video, we talk about basic research, where they say usually those kinds of research don't lead much, lead to very practical answers that we need right now. That is conceptual research. But then there is research which is demanding for answers right now. Take an example. There is a question that is right now on everybody's lips. Yes, there's a question that is right now on everybody's lips. Do the vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccines, provide 100% protection? That is the question. How effective are the COVID-19 vaccines? That question is high on everybody's lips, and I'm sure for everyone here. And scientists are not giving us a direct answer. Yes, scientists are not giving us a direct answer. I remember reading an article about, I think, one of the scientists at Uganda, infectious diseases, I think it was infectious diseases. They were asking the question on the vaccine that is being used in Uganda. Should people continue using it? Does it mean, does this vaccine, there was a question that was asked to him, does this vaccine, is it effective on the variants of the new variants of COVID-19 viruses that have come up? And the only thing he said is, it's yet to be known. Why is he saying this? They are at the moment collecting empirical evidence. Yeah, this point here that I highlight. They are at the moment collecting empirical evidence. They don't know. So a scientist cannot make a conclusive answer until they have collected evidence to show, is this virus, can it protect this vaccine, can it protect somebody who has received the vaccine from the new variants, the new COVID-19 variants? That is a question that is now on everybody's lips. So empirical evidence is evidence you want to collect now to investigate. is this thing, does this work or does this not work? Yes, is this effective or is this ineffective? That had evidence that you want something to be proved right now. That is empirical research. Now, Stephen, have you understood what empirical research is before I go further? Stephen, is it clear? I hope it is. I hope it is. Now, I just want to, okay, I'm seeing here a comment. Let me see. Yes, it says yes with the example of COVID-19 research. So, Bruno Ivan, just to emphasize, you can also bring this example into IT itself. Okay, you can also bring this into IT itself. Last time we met, I don't know if you were in the lecture we had on Tuesday. I think it was on Tuesday. No, I think so. I talked about the research I did. My research was also focusing on empirical facts, empirical gathering of facts. My research, remember, if all of you remember, I talked about my research, which was in the field of mHealth, to determine what works and what does not work in a rural context, using mobile phones to provide healthcare services in rural communities. And I was trying to find out what works and what does not work. And one of the empirical evidences I found was it is very common to find a community member who has a mobile phone, but this person has no idea how to use SMS on the phone. That was I was gathering empirical facts, empirical evidence to show what works and what doesn't work. And then I was also finding out what was of value in terms of healthcare. What do people want to use mobile phones for in terms of healthcare? So that anyone who is designing an mHealth application knows these are the things that are of value to somebody in healthcare. That was empirical research. Now, you can also translate this into other IT concepts, let's say in organizational context, to find out, let's say you can say, I want to find out why certain systems are adopted and why others are not adopted in an organization. What works and what doesn't work. What brings efficiency and what doesn't bring efficiency. That would be that typical empirical research. And normally you find IT research leans towards empirical research, normally. Usually we find research, not that we actually have theory in every field. We have theory that guides IT, we have theory that guides medicine, we have theory that guides agriculture, all spheres. But normally, there's some research which is common in certain fields more than others. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard of the field of philosophy. I'm sure all of you have done ethics, which means you must have encountered philosophy. Not so? Yes or no? You've all encountered philosophy? Yes, Ivan says yes. Yeah. So now philosophy is typically a field where research is usually basic and conceptual. That's typically a field. That doesn't mean, again, I want to repeat, that doesn't mean that we don't find conceptual research in IT or basic research. We can find it. Your research, all research, you'll find some level of conceptualization. For example, I had to make some conceptualizations to say about certain things. I had to generalize certain things and come up with a basic concept of my battery is going low, I may have to switch. Could all of you first give me a minute? I switch. Can I log off? I log on somewhere else, or while we're
Yes.
talking, yeah. Let me just log off and then
Yes.
switch. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Let me just